Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and thank you so much for taking time to view this video on essential negotiation. First video, a 12-part series of videos on negotiation skills. This first video really is going to talk about some of the basics of negotiation to kind of lay down a framework. We're going to start by talking about style and approach. We need to understand that bargaining and negotiation are not the same. Bargaining really describes competitive win-lose situations. And then negotiations really refers to win-win situations where both parties see the outcome as a win to them. There's going to be give and take that is really important, but factors shaping the negotiation occur before the negotiation takes place, and it shapes the context around the negotiation. Of course, any video that you watch or anything that you read really is going to be based on people's personal experiences, how they see the world through the media, including television, radio, magazines, and the internet. And of course, videos from professors are usually based in social science research. Let's talk about characteristics of negotiation situations. Usually, there's two parties or more between individual groups, organizations, or within groups. There is a conflict of needs and desires between parties. Each side searches for conflict resolution. The parties negotiate by choice, and there are times to not engage in negotiation, of course, times to engage. So you have to be able to understand what those times really look like. And give and take really is expected from both sides, where they know that there's going to need to be compromises that take place. It has to be said that usually both parties prefer to negotiate rather than openly fight or dominate and break contact. That's just the way that it is. Negotiators must manage tangibles and resolve intangibles. Intangibles, of course, include the price and terms of the agreement. And intangibles are the underlying motivations, such as the need to win or the need to maintain a good relationship, which brings us to interdependence. Working interdependently allows parties to achieve a possible outcome that is better than what they could achieve by working on their own. Relationships between parties may be characterized in one of three ways. Independent parties are able to meet their own needs without the assistance of others. Dependent parties rely on others for what they need. They must accept and accommodate to that provider's whims and idiosyncrasies. And three, when the parties depend on each other to achieve their own outcome, they are interdependent, characterized by interlocking goals. So let's talk about some types of interdependence that affects outcomes. Interdependence of people's goals and structure of the situation strongly shape the negotiation processes and the outcomes. A zero-sum or distributive is about competitive, and usually there's only one winner, right? The individuals are so linked together that there is a negative correlation between their goal attainments to the degree that one person achieves their goal and the other's goal attained is blocked. And then there's mutual gains. That in this situation, it's also known as a non-zero sum or an integrative situation. There is a positive correlation between the goal attainment of both parties. To achieve that degree, one needs to achieve their goals, and the other goals are not necessarily blocked and may in fact be enhanced. So there are some alternatives that shape interdependence. And what we need to understand is that we have to evaluate interdependence. And that depends heavily on the desirability or alternatives that work together. we use the acronym BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, which means best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So BATNA, when you hear me talk about it, I'm saying it's the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Whether you should or should not agree on something in a negotiation depends upon the attractiveness of your best available alternatives. Negotiators must understand their own BATNA and the other parties. The value of a person's BATNA is always relative to the possible settlements available in the current negotiation. A BATNA may offer independence from, dependence on, or interdependence with someone else. Every possible interdependency has an alternative, and we must remember that negotiators can walk away. Let's talk about mutual adjustment and concession making. Negotiation is a process that transforms over time, and mutual adjustment is one of the key causes of the changes that occur during negotiation. Negotiations often begin with statements of opening positions. Each party states its most preferred settlement proposal. If the proposal isn't readily accepted, negotiators begin to defend their own initial proposals and critique the other's proposal. Each party's rejoinder usually suggests alterations to the other party's proposal and perhaps a change in their own position. When one party agrees to make a change, a concession has been made. When a concession is made, the bargaining range, or the range of possible agreements between the two parties' minimally accepted settlements, is further constrained. Here's two dilemmas in mutual adjustment. One, the dilemma of honesty concerns how much truth to tell the other. Telling the other party everything may give them the opportunity to take advantage. Not telling the other person anything may lead to a stalemate. The dilemma of trust is how much to believe what the other tells you. If you believe everything the other party says, then they could take advantage of you. If you believe nothing they say, you'll have difficulty in reaching an agreement. So let's talk about outcomes and process. Concessions are greatly aided by trust and belief. Two efforts help to create such trust and beliefs. One is based on perceptions of outcomes, and the other on perceptions of the process. Outcome perceptions can be shaped by managing how the receiver views the proposed result. Enhance perceptions of the credibility of the process by signaling fairness and reciprocity in proposal and concessions. Remember, trust is the glue of all relationships, and trust needs to be earned, and we're always evaluating whether or not we're in a safe situation and if we can trust what the other person is saying. So we have to be able to make sure that we're claiming value and that we're creating value. And so let's talk about those. The structure of interdependence shapes the strategies and tactics negotiators employ. Negotiators use win-lose strategies in distributive situation. And in a distributive bargaining, the negotiator accepts the one winner concept and pursues action to be the winner. The purpose of this type of negotiation is to claim value. Negotiators use win-win situations in integrative situations. Integrative negotiation attempts solutions so both parties can achieve their goals. The purpose of the negotiation is to create value. So let's talk about the implications of claiming and creating value. Most negotiations are combining of claiming and creating value, and there are significant implications to this. Negotiators must be able to recognize when to use more of one approach than the other. Negotiators must be versatile in their use of strategic approaches. Negotiator perceptions tend to see problems as more distributive than they really are. People tend to overuse distributive strategies, and as a consequence, negotiators often leave unclaimed value on the negotiations table. Successful coordination of interdependence has the potential to lead to synergy, which is the notion that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Creation and negotiator differences. Value may be created in numerous ways, and the heart of the process lies in exploiting the differences between the negotiators, differences in interests. That's finding compatibility is often the key to value creation. Differences in judgment about the future. People differ in their perception of future value of an item. Differences in risk tolerance. That's where a company with cash flow problems can assume little risk. And differences in time preference, which one negotiator may want to realize gains now while the other may be happy to defer gains in the future. So let's talk about some definitions with conflict. Conflict really arises from strongly divergent needs of two parties, from misperceptions and from misunderstandings. When two parties are working together toward the same goal and generally want the same outcome, and then when both parties want very different outcomes. Conflict is a disagreement or opposition and includes the belief that the parties' current needs cannot be achieved simultaneously. And there are some levels of conflict that we should talk about. Intrapersonal or intrapsychic conflict, and that's conflict that occurs within the individual, and that is interpersonal conflict. This conflict is between individuals, and and then there is intra conflict. This is conflict within a group, and intergroup conflict. This conflict is between organizations, ethnic groups, warring nations, or feuding families, or within splintered, fragmented communities. Negotiations at this level are the most complex. Functions and dysfunctions of conflict. Elements that contribute to a conflict's destructive image include competitive win-lose goals, misperception of biases, decreased communication, magnified difference, minimized similarities, emotionality, blurred issues, rigid commitments, conflict escalation, conflict's productive aspects. These are discussions that raise awareness and coping ability. Conflict leads to change and adaptation. Conflict strengthens relationships and morale. Conflict promotes awareness of self and others. And conflict enhances personal development. Conflict encourages psychological development, and conflict can be stimulating and fun. So those are the productive aspects of conflict. The objective is not to eliminate conflict, but to learn how to manage it, to control the destructive elements while enjoying the productive aspects. So that, in a nutshell, are the basics of conflict. I hope that you have found some value in this video. I encourage you to go back and review it and take some notes, and hopefully they help give you a solid foundation for the rest of the videos in the series. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt.